Kahala Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, double honors unto the apostles of Green Millstone, alright, that rule well, and salutations unto your brothers and your sisters that take heed, alright. This is something I wanted to do. I built up the information, or got the information, so I'm going to bring it out. This is from a highways video. This was from 10, so this was March 10th, alright, March 10th, 2018, alright. So a couple weeks ago, basically a month, this dude came up, man. This Edomite, a proud demon, but he came up and he was basically refuting everything, which he was funny. He was a joke, But I'm gonna play the video and then I'm gonna get some information to to cut him to what he said. The brother said during the Dark Ages, it was called Dark Ages because dark people rule the world, and he said it's a hyperbole, which Esau in his fucking fancy words. Hyperbole just means something that you say, or something that's not to be taken literal. Oh, it's Dark Ages because dark people. It was, all right. And then the brother's gonna ask him the next question, and he's gonna go completely off it.
Don't know history, nor do you have any facts. I have a different view of it. No, you don't know history. What's the view? It's not called Dark Age because people were black. It's Dark Age because nothing got fucking accomplished. There was no science.
This demon, he said there's no science, man. There's no science during that fucking time.
So hold on.
During that time, the brother's gonna say it.
Medieval ages, because they're medieval.
So the Moors never brought science?
No.
What about fashion? What about fashion? What about sanitary? What about the sanitary system? What about the sanitary system all throughout
the fashion? You had something called the Silk Road, going up to where's that? Vienna, Italy, right, with the canoes. You know that city where they have the canoes and the canoe routes. That was called the Silk Path, because the path, it was basically through the Moors. It was a Moorish connection, if you will, from India, where they had prestige silk and other materials, very very precious, and they built that path, and that was all from the Moors, man. So fashion wise, everything. This dude is who? He's a nobody.
Spain?
No.
What about air conditioning?
No, England invented sewer system.
No. You gotta bring to me that proof, because first of all, when your people ruled Europe, it was known as the pagan Roman Empire. The pagan Roman Empire.
I'm Slovak.
And then, yeah, the slaves.
Yeah, I'm part of the slaves.
And then, you guys were taken down, starting in 193 AD, by a man by the name of Septimius Severus. And then really, it was completely taken over, which Rome was, hold on. Rome was then known as the Holy Roman Empire when? When was Rome known as the Holy Roman Empire? Under Constantine in 325 AD. And then so-called black men ruled all the way up until the 1400s.
There were black men in Rome ruling? Of course.
See this, because you fucking retards, you don't know anything, man. And you claim to know things, but you don't know shit. Because we've been through your public school system. It doesn't teach you anything. Your universities, they don't teach you anything. Your places of prestigious learning and all these great your alma maters, your prestigious places, man. They don't teach you shit.
Caesar?
Russia?
No, among Caesar?
Spain? I just told you your people were taken down. That's what you're not hearing. Your people were taken down.
Why are we on top?
You're on top now. Hold on. That's why this man asked you, what does Renaissance mean? Because your people took us down in the 1400s, and that was known as rebirth. You guys came back into power.
You're attributing the word rebirth to it, but that's not what it means.
That's exactly what it means.
The word Renaissance, meaning again or back, naissance meaning birth, the rebirth, man, or born again. clown, man.
Etymology of the word.
That's right.
That's an
Etymology.
etymology of the word. No. You can't correct me here, boy.
I just did it.
You didn't correct me here. You didn't correct me here.
You corrected
You
yourself
can't
the
correct
exact
me.
time I corrected
You
you.
didn't
What does the
correct
word
me.
etymology mean?
No, but the funny
What
thing
does
is
the word mean? I don't care how I pronounce it. I know what it means.
No, but the funny thing is
What
we
is the
both
word
said at the same
etymology?
But you
time.
never corrected me.
No, but we said the same time.
You
as
didn't
in the
correct me.
correction.
You
Yeah.
didn't correct
So
me.
I didn't technically.
Thank you.
Ronnie,
Thank you.
Ronnie. It means your mom. Go away from me.
See this? That's what we don't.
Hey, this dude is a proud devil, man. You know, but that's what happens. What happens when you ask someone a real question, man? They don't know shit, man. They're just popping off. You know what I'm saying?
He's a homo.
I'm gonna skip forward.
Continue. It's trying to continue. I want to listen to your story. Tell me.
Conversations.
The man's a devil,
Joking
man.
the time and I went to a little.
Fire.
That's right.
Byzantine. Byzantine means backwards. So this is the time of the backwards empire. Now you had a man by the name of Septimius Severus, and he ruled. He took down the Roman Empire in 193 AD, right? And this was a man of color. This was a man of color. Period. If you don't believe that, then you don't believe in history, man. You don't know your history,
color?
right? So
The man has the picture right there, man. But that's why we say you guys are really when the scripture says the wine of the wrath of fornication, man. All that wine, you're drunk as hell, man. You people are completely bugged out, man.
in 193 AD, Septimius Severus, a Roman general, stormed Rome after the death of Didius Julianus, killed 25 senators and disbanded the Praetorian Guard. He then set up his own guard of men he trusted. The name Septimius Severus means cutter of seven, which goes back to the scriptures, man. That's what we gotta get, because that's what we don't deal with fun and games. We deal with the scriptures. That's very serious.
What is the book that you're
That's right.
through?
Somebody get the scriptures.
Is that
Somebody
King
get
James Bible?
Revelations 13.
You're going through King James Bible.
Yes.
Somebody
Okay.
get Revelations 13, please.
This is Revelation chapter 13 and 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
And guess what? Somebody get the poster. And that's what everyone thinks when they see the people on the sign teaching. When they see the people on the sign teaching, they automatically think it's a joke.
Yep.
You know why? Because our history was destroyed.
That's right.
The first thing that they did when they came into power was destroy our history and beat our history out of us.
That's right.
Because they didn't want us to know ourselves. That's why our people walk around calling themselves black.
That's right.
Right? They call themselves niggers.
Right.
Because their history and culture was beaten out of them.
Right.
By the devil.
That's
right. Right.
Simple and plain. That's why when we're teaching history, they're like, what? They spend millions and millions of dollars to destroy history.
That's America. Looks like the
Go
sickest
ahead.
video game I've ever seen.
That's good, because this is a video game. The Heavenly Father is in control of this video game. And you guys are doing exactly what the scripture says do.
That's right. Yep.
Everything that you're
I live
doing
in
today.
poverty.
That's good. I'm glad. You should be in poverty. Your people are from the Caucasus Mountains.
That's right.
You
That's
should
right.
be in poverty.
Yeah, I know.
That's right.
Go ahead. You should be in poverty.
And upon his horns 10 crowns.
What are we? Are we also seeing poverty? I don't understand. What's the point? What's the point? Are you guys going to be in control
And
next
upon
week?
his-
I don't
And
understand.
upon his horns
I
10
don't understand
crowns,
what the point is.
and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power. And
No, that's not the scripture I wanted. I wanted the scripture with Septimius. Salakia. I called
Say
it
something
13.
sexy about America.
Yeah, 20. Salakia. Yeah, you
Looks
got
hot. America looks sexy as shit.
It's 20.
so this is, I'll start from the top. This is Revelation chapter 20,
America's a train?
verse 1.
Is that what it's supposed
And
to
I
be?
saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold
Beautiful.
on the dragon, that old serpent,
Yeah, that dragon, that old serpent, which goes all the way back into to Genesis, that serpent that deceived Eve. Keep going.
What's the allegory for the
Keep
dragon?
going.
and it says that
I'm gonna
old
tell you.
serpent which is the devil.
Which is the devil, and the word devil means deceiver. And that
it white devil?
that allegory, there's no such person as a white person. Right? You're an Edomite, and yes, you are the devil. You are a deceiver. You have deceived the world. You've deceived the world into making people think that a man can become a girl. You've deceived the world into thinking that a boy can become a girl.
Yes,
and a girl can
I
become
hate
a
that
man.
crap. I
Keep
hate that
going,
transgender
I hate that crap. Keep going, brother.
No, I hate transgender bullshit. So I'm actually on your
and
side about
Satan
that.
and bound him 1,000 years. And
I'm on your side
and
with
cast
that
him into
bullshit.
the
No
bottomless
way.
pit and shut him up.
Yeah, and that bottomless pit, that's going into Europe, where we actually put you guys. That was a prison sentence when you were in the
You put us where
mountains.
where everything was nice.
No, actually, South Georgia, Russia wasn't nice, and you guys were in the mountains.
Wow, no one
and
wants
you
to
were
go to South Georgia,
and
Russia, or Siberia.
You were crawling all on your belly.
I'm talking about Europe.
You were
I'm
crawling
talking
on your
about
belly.
actual
You were
Europe.
you were actually eating out of your dead grandmother's skull.
That's right. I'm
You
sure he was.
you had hair all over your body. You looked like a damn bear.
We had to shave it.
Looked like
Can black people have hair in
at
their
that
body? I
time,
understand.
at that time, your people were laying with
We all have beards here.
your people were laying with dogs.
That's right.
Your people were laying
I
with
live with a
dogs.
dog.
I know.
Of course. He's
I
my
know.
friend.
You didn't even have to tell me
He's my
that.
best friend.
You didn't even have to tell me that. You didn't even have to tell me that.
Hey, that was really it on that, on the medieval part, right? So I'm gonna go to the book. This is the book called African Presence in Early Europe by Ivan van Sertima. I highlighted some points. This is from page 252, which says, "Was it worth the search and the cost?" It says, having now had the opportunity to go through both volumes fairly thoroughly, I would have to say yes. Mind you, now McRitchie, who's a scholar, he wrote a book called The Ancient and Modern Brits, I believe that's what it was called, something along those lines. And he was a demon, man. He actually wanted to disprove all these things, but the more he kept digging in, the more he kept finding that Jake was all up in Europe, man, in Britain, in Spain, in France, in Germany, Austria, everywhere, man. You know. McRitchie was no friend of black people and didn't seem to be particularly proud of the historical activities of blacks in the regions under study, but who cares? I think that on this issue, Chancellor Williams strikes a nail right on the head. And this is a good point. It says, even the most hostile racist writers usually prove the very opposite of what they intended. Their works inevitably contain useful factual data that must be accepted. Indeed, it is doubtful whether anyone, even a devil, could write a book completely devoid of truth. Research in African history is more tedious, laborious, and time-consuming than is true in other unsuppressed fields. For in developing the undeveloped history of the blacks, one has to explore the most unlikely sources for a fragment here and a fragment there, right? And even if we switch this picture, you see this picture right here, Black Norman Knight and his lady. You know, so late as the 10th century, these, or Slakia, three of the provinces of Scotland were wholly black, and the supreme ruler of these became, for a time, the paramount king of transmarine Scotland. And again, by MacRitchie, which MacRitchie, he could be a Jake anyway, because Mac, is that a Scottish or Irish name, which means son of. Mac, it's a title, you know, like MacArthur or McDonald or McDouglas. It just means son of, you know. Let me see. Yeah, next page 258, which says, if our information is correct here, right? It says, and we have no valid reason to suppose otherwise, it becomes clear that in these early periods the possession and control of Britain was for a long time up for grabs, and it is only logical for the fears and hatreds that resulted from the martial interactions of the contestants to have remained very much alive, and also for a long time, as McRitchie points out, in most of the examples cited of whatever nature the two great types appear as enemies, which was their natural attitude, and a great number of the legendary instances preserve the memory of this mutual enmity. The black giants of the Welsh and other tales are hateful and horrid, the Welsh black oppressors, right? Today, people, Welsh, right? Um, different Welsh, there's different, there's a couple other ones in England that they go by, but now you see them as Edomites. But it's all really Jake, and that's the spirit that a lot of Benjamites and a lot of other tribes, they're up in UK right now, through immigration, because they were there anyway, man, during the Dark Ages, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them were already there anyway. That history is hidden too. You it says, and the Black Knight of Lancashire are fierce tyrants, the cruel foes of all white people. At a later date, when the whites were gaining the ascendancy, and the blacks were cut up into strangling bands or lurking, like the Black Morrow of Galloway, in solitary dens and forest shades, out of which they issued by night, intent on murder and rapine. Even at this stage of their history, the blacks were the dreaded enemies of the whites. Indeed, it is of this epoch that the popular imagination has most retained the days of black oppression are so remote that their memory only lives in half-forgotten legends, man. You see, this thing is deep, man. They know, man. They know that we rule. That's why you had an issue a couple months ago. If you brothers and sisters, you remember out there, it was a UK. I don't know what her name was. She was an old woman. I don't know if she was a nobility or something, most likely, but or royalty. But she had an outfit on, and she had like a pin or something of a Moor. It was a Moor with a turban and everything, and it was actually royalty, and that was from back in the Dark Ages. But what they said is, oh, it's racist and it looks racist or whatever. It's like a slave thing, but it wasn't. People don't even know what the hell that was. People really they don't know what that was, man. Let me just actually type that in. UK Moor button, something along those lines. UK Moor. No, I can't find it, but I seen it a couple weeks ago, man. Damn. Slovakia. If I can't find it, I'll just go on. So let me see. Yeah, I can't find it. It's okay. But it was a thing, man, and people didn't know what the hell that was. That was the Moors, man. The Moors were ruling. They were not in subjection, as we're reading, right? It says, not so. The time when the black castles were owned by another race and their former masters were skulking among woods and caves. Who's that talking about? You Edomites, man. The brother read in Revelations 20:1, right? The bottomless pit. The Edomites were driven into the Caucasus Mountains in the caves. See that? So vivid was the fear of them and so lasting its impression that children of the 19th century, which is the 1800s, peering into dark recesses timorously, or peasant girls seeing suddenly their own image reflected by the candle from the dark window pane, shiver all over with apprehension, right? At the vision of the dreaded black man, a mere imaginary bugbear to them, but a real terror to those from whom they inherited the feeling. You see that? Man, because we had a hold on them. But then what happened? Jake started intermarrying with them, bringing them up. There were certain Byzantine kings, they married Khazars, straight up Khazars, and they would take on the woman's last name, man. You know what I mean? And there's that destruction already, man. It's crazy. Jake is crazy, man. Thus we some of the memories of the blacks of early Britain. Thus we see some of the memories of the blacks of early Britain. Ultimately, perhaps inevitably, the original antagonisms begin to soften, and an amalgamation of sorts took place. Right? Next page, see the Moors right here. There's the different pictures in this book. It's a good book. Moors in Morocco, date 17th century. And the Moors, by the way, they were not Arabs, man, because you had Moors that were so-called Arabs or whatever, but Well, really, those even weren't Moors. Those are just part of the Muslim armies of Muhammad, man. And that's where the Moors came from. They went from North Africa and they went up into Gibraltar. That's where you have to think of the Rock of Gibraltar, which he was a Jake. Gibraltar was a man. He was an Israelite. You know, which I forget what that name means, man. Gibraltar, something maybe to do with Gabriel, but it's a powerful name. Let me see. And this is the lavishness of the Moors. This is page 159. Toward the end of the 8th century, their endeavors in chemistry brought them to the formulation of the chemical components of gunpowder. So what the hell is this Edomite talking about? It was Dark Ages. Nothing was happening. No science. Through its Harappan inheritance, India made clear to the Moors some principles of astronomy. The world is round as a sphere of which the waters are adherent and maintained upon its surface by natural equilibrium. It is surrounded by air, and all created bodies are stable on its surface. The earth drawn to itself all that is heavy in the same way as a magnet attracts iron. The terrestrial globe is divided into 2 equal parts by the equinoctial line. The circumference of the earth is divided into 360 degrees. So this information, what happened when this devil came out? He had to learn all this all over again, man. Because the Most High literally made him stupid, man. Go on his belly. Everything the brother was saying, man. Eating out of his dead grandmother's skull. All those things, man. Right? And then he came out and this devil said, no, the earth is flat. You know, you had devils saying the earth is flat. Then they found out, no, okay, the earth is a sphere. You know? Bunch of idiots, man. You know, if you go far enough on the ocean, you'll fall off the edge of the earth, man. That's what these dumbasses thought. That's why Columbus. Why do you think Columbus had to bring Moors on the first expedition when he came to Hispaniola? You know, on this side of the earth in 1491, 1492, right? He brought Moors, man, as interpreters, as guides, because they knew then. Of course, Jake had the information. You know, and they had to learn it all over again, man. That's why it's called the Renaissance, rebirth. They got all this information, man. Don't you know these devils were so dirty, man? These Edomites are so nasty and dirty that in Boston, during colonial times, right, during the 13 colonies, in the 1700s, man, you had to have a doctor's prescription to bathe, to actually bathe. Queen Isabella of Spain, man, she bragged about the fact that she only bathed once in her life, man. So these devils were, yo, man. When the conquistadors came, the Aztecs, they had to hold up roses and pleasant smelling flowers to their noses while talking to them, man. So yo, man, these devils, man. You're on your way out. You're witnessing the rise of Jacob, man. All right, you're witnessing the rise of Jacob, and you're losing your power, man. That's why the Most High, it doesn't say the dust shall be the serpent's food, right? He shall be upon his belly again. The Most High is gonna make that stupid ass spirit come upon you again, man. You guys are gonna be rednecks all over again. Your whole nation. You know, you're not gonna be noble. You're not gonna be royal. You're not gonna be so-called men of integrity and prestige and all these great titles that you put upon yourselves, and knights and sirs and lords and all this shit. All right, you're gonna be Mr. Nobody, man. Mr. Who's that guy? For real, man. Real talk. You know, the Most High is gonna take your name out of this earth, man. It says the earth is essentially round but not perfect. Rotundity being somewhat depressed at the poles. This is the Indian calculation. These principles recorded in a Moorish translation of an Indian act will not be comprehended by the rest of Europe for 400 years. And then it says down here, Moorish Spain also excelled in city planning. The sophistication of their cities was astonishing. According to one historian, Cordova had 471 mosques and 300 public baths. And FYI, not all the Moors were Muslim. You had Moors who practiced so-called what they called Judaism. They were Israelites. They knew they were Israelites and they practiced it. You had Moors who were Christians, who followed the ways of maybe orthodoxy or maybe went under the doctrines of Constantine, right? So-called Christians, so they kept Easter and all this crap and so on and so forth, right? But you had Moors who were Israelites. You didn't have just like I said, they try to push that Arab thing on the Moors were Arabs, but again, you had Moors who were Muslims under Islam because they came from under the captivity of Ishmael, all right, and you had Israelites that knew they were Israelites, or Moors who knew they were Israelites and kept those customs, man, right? That's why it says, um, when the Moors were being expelled in Granada in 1492 or 1493, I believe, you had the Sabbath day prohibited, and you had they call them Jews, Sephardic, and all these different terms, but those are Moors, man. They're really Moors who were practicing what they call again Judaism, which there's no such thing as Judaism. You're Israelite by nationality, and that's your heritage, and that's your upbringing, that's your life. You know, that's just your culture. All right, you can't. But it's not even a culture because someone else can try to live your culture. No other nation can is not all the other nations are not part of this inheritance. You know, it says. Let me see. The number of houses of the great and noble were 63,000 and 200,000 of the common people in 77. There were upwards of 80,000 shops. Water from the mountains was distributed through every corner and every quarter of the city by means of leaden pipes into basins of different shapes made of the purest gold, the finest silver, or plated brass, as well into vast lakes. Hey man, you see this fucking devil in this society? What are your pipes made out of, man? Lead, not even sometimes copper, but not even, man. Steel. That's why this fucking water is disgusting, man. You know, the water is all nasty anyway. It's recycled of shit and toxins and drugs and goddamn chemicals. But then all these pipes are nasty, man. They should be at least copper. Everything should be at least copper. You know, even goddamn public transit, those poles they should be at least copper. But they can't do that because steel or iron or whatever the hell they're using, everyone grabs it. Anyone who's sick is it's all transmittable, and then you touch it and it's all nasty germs. If it was copper, copper is a natural antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, pro immune system. You know, it's a little bit better, man. But you see, what the Moors had, they had the water going through gold, silver, which silver itself is an antioxidant, is antiviral, bacterial, microbial, everything. Gold is the highest level, but silver is great too, man. Even brass, man. You know, um, amazing reservoirs and fountains of Grecian marble. The houses of Cordova were air conditioned in summer by ingeniously arranged draughts of fresh air drawn from the garden over beds of flowers chosen for their perfume. So they had a scented air conditioner, right? Warmed in winter by hot air convened through pipes bedded in the walls, man. Come on, man. That's living right there. That sounds like living to me. Okay, bathrooms supplied hot and cold water, and there were tables of gold set with emeralds, rubies, and pearls. This list of impressive works appears endless. Hey, the Lord, listen, man. This was greater even the times of King David and King Solomon, man. Right? These things were even greater, man. You know. So we had these things. It doesn't even say Melchizedek. He was a great king, and he had a city. So how were they living? How was Adam living in the garden? The garden was paradise. All right. So listen, bro. We had. Doesn't it say the scriptures? That which had been is that which shall be. There's no new thing under the sun. So certain things get recycled. You see this happened back in the ancient world. They had electricity, man. They already discovered all these things, man, on hieroglyphs and so-called pyramids. They already knew about all those things. It's easy to conduct, to have a conductivity or electricity, right? Or current, right? It's all the same thing. So they all had that, man. Certain things get recycled, right? So this happened, then Esau came up, then Tesla, you know, all these things keep coming up, man. throughout different ages. So it says this list of impressive works appears endless. It includes lampposts that lit their streets at night to grand palaces, such as the ones called Azara, with its 15,000 doors. Such a well-developed culture depends on the efforts of talented people. A black African Moor named Zaryab is representative of the fullness and variety of Moorish culture. You see that? So, man, this dude, he completely is talking shit, man. And there's a lot of other things, but for time's sake, I'm gonna cut it short. Brothers can read this book. It's pretty good, man. You know, but again, there's bones in this shit too, right? But you gotta pick the meat from the bones. So with that, I want to say Ka halal la Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem Rakakodash for letting me bring this information out. Double honors unto the apostles of GMS who rule well, who I learned the truth from, and salutations unto you brothers and you few sisters that take heed. I want to say Kwame Sharala. I hope you're edified. Shalom.